reason why I thought that's so fascinating, I thought you were so fascinating, Larry, is you came in the 90s, and correct me if I have these details wrong, but in the 90s, and you restarted Dallas, right? I'd have to look at these stories.
Some credit for that.
Well, so you were this, businessman that came in and brought these buildings back to life. And then this, if it's your final project, I don't know, but you put so much heart in. I see you as a creative. Because I became a creative later in life, I guess I didn't know it was okay, and I just thought that was amazing. So to me, it's like your canvas. With the 86 different artists and all the creativity and fun we had creating this, and that's part of this story, and that's why I captured all this, because to me, it's his canvas. A real estate canvas. And even in 2014, I put the red feathers there because to me it represented rebirth.
It starts the demolition until 2015, until May of 2015. And that's the old hotel. And you can see the draperies and the balconies and the old house, the Victorian house that was in front of the property. Yeah, there you get a good shot of the annex building, which I never liked the way it crowded against the hotel and blocked the views from the bottom five
the pool
floors.
Was inside there.
The pool was in there. And so Angela, this was her backdrop. I love this one in the pool where she exploited that.
Well, you were like, they're going to rip out the toilets. And I was like, I am so coming. I so want to shoot there. Nobody's going to get 100 toilets.
So she took this image of Jeremy Ash sitting on one of the toilets and made that into one of the murals that's up in the 12th floor ladies' restroom foyer.
It's been a project that's been almost going on for 10 years. We have, it's taken us this long to get to there. We had the hotel, Larry had it before the crash in 08, and we didn't get to do anything with it. So it's reconstituted, it's like the Phoenix. We kind of got to do it over again, so it's cool to see it from the original designs we had in the beginning in 2007, 2008, and to now it's night and day, and it's interesting because that's taken that time to grow. So it's cool to watch the evolution of the design and the ideas and everything we put into it. I think we knew the vision was going to be a compound of ideas that we'd seen all these other places. We'd traveled to New York and seen Philippe Stark's hotels. We'd seen a bunch of different high-end design hotels that were all boutique-y. And we've stayed on West Coast, East Coast, and then places in between, and really put all those ideas together. That's what Lorenzo is. It's a thing saying, hey, all this, the stuff for the, what do you call it, the boutique hotels, and we just grouped them all together and said, hey, let's just put it all in here, and had fun with it. And hopefully that's what we get across to the customers that come to Lorenzo. There's something to look at around every corner, and then go explore, have fun. We've got a lot of local artists from the neighborhood in the building, and that's a big thing. I love art, Larry loves art, my partner loves art too. We're all kind of arties, so we love artists too because they're interesting to work with. You get all kinds, so it's fun. But we put, when you walk around in here, you'll see all the artists that are local on the 12th floor, on the first floor, all the way throughout into the back room to the fitness area and everywhere else. There's just art everywhere.
Okay, I'm in the building, the vacant, empty building. It's muggy, like probably 90%. It's been raining. It's June, late June, and I'm getting ready to do the scene. I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes. They're an hour away, but it's okay. It's quite interesting being in a vacant building like this. So here I am at the Ramada, Plaza, Ramada. So, and it's gonna be the Lorenzo. So this is where, okay, it's totally dilapidated. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm gonna go up to the 12th floor and look at that since I have a little bit of time. Just trying to keep moving because these monstrous mosquitoes are killing me. But I did find some off. All right, so I'm gonna go back to work before the crew gets here. And this will be our first shot. I mean, there's some cool old garbage laying around here. I'm sorry, sounded like a chainsaw. But I think it's a motorcycle. Okay, I'm going to work, bye. I just loved these stories. The reason why I myself was going through a very painful divorce and I escaped in the camera. So rather than drinking, it was the camera. All of this happened by accident. So I realized I loved strong women. And that's, I guess this was really myself rebirthing. So it went from that to this. Pretty damn cool, huh?
I never liked that metal cornice up there, and I thought we needed to do something with that. And if an artist has a stretcher board and a canvas on it, what it is a canvas until the artist paints on it. And once the artist paints on it, the canvas goes out of existence and it becomes a painting. And it seemed to me that the best way to remove that cornice that I didn't care for was to make it a canvas and have it be a canvas for some other piece of art. So Stan Abbott came up with the idea of the birds on the wire, which birds kind of symbolize a nesting place, and we want this hotel to be a place of refuge and a nesting place. And so he came up with the birds on a wire, which is this sort of horizontal linear thing that went on the cornice. We painted the cornice black and made the birds on a wire white, and that also emphasized we've got a decided black and white theme going in the hotel with punches of color. And our carpet in the rooms is a black carpet with white lettering of Hamlet's soliloquy that Shaw Carpet did for us. It smelled like the YMCA when you would walk in the front door because you could smell that pool.
So you already knew in your mind that you were going to tear this down?
I didn't initially, but we decided somewhere along the way that it would be best to come down. I had this difficulty. I thought, we could tear down the building, but I don't want to tear the whole building down. I want to leave the steel frame if I can. And so then we had to get the structural engineer to opine on whether or not we could actually do that, because the skin around the building helps give it structural stability. And then, so once you tear away all the building other than the steel frame, will the steel frame still stand? But so today, people are kind of amazed when they go out to the pool and they find out that there actually once was a building there, that it was inside the building. And I haven't had anybody yet say, "Oh, you should have kept the building." I like the juxtaposition of these elegantly clad models on the trashed out roof, and then we take it to the new roof, the clean.
Yes, and yeah, that's the rebirth.
A ramp that takes you up, that kind of starts right here, which goes here. So here you see the original lobby, which probably was elegant in its day, but time had passed it by. And one of the things that it had that I didn't like was it had what was obviously a retrofitted handicap ramp, and I don't like those. If you're going to have access for the handicap, I want it to look like it's the access for everybody. And we did that, so we completely changed that. And now, the other thing about having a two-level lobby, people now have these rollerboard luggage, and you don't like them clunking them up the stairs. You want to have a nice, spacious ramp for those things to come up. So we made the ramp kind of a focal point. It's got these TVs with the flashing eyeballs and the mirrors on the other side. And it comes down and ends you kind of right in the middle so that there's a central axis that carries you through to Lorenzo Kitchen and then out to Ackert Street. And I'm pretty careful about the way we retrofitted that lobby.
This is Tina Turner's room, I believe.
Yes, which is today the suite we call Cake. And that was where Tina Turner fled. This is a good story.
This is actually out of the Statler. I think it was 2015. I loved vacant historical buildings, so I was shooting. What is that called? Electric grid?
Electrical transformers.
It was so big and massive and interesting compared to today, so I captured this. But later, when you wanted me to commission me to do this wall, you're like, what would you do here? So then I went in and I brought the piece of Statler and the Lorenzo, which was the Ramada, which is the history of Tina running down the street to this hotel, so it linked them. And as you see in that image, the strong woman looking forward, going through what she had to go through, overcoming it, tying it together, and then literally I put the digital part of her face, which is more for today's issues.
The other thing that I like about that mural is it kind of illustrates the ambiguity and the merger of technology and humanity that's kind of happening today. And so you see that her brain, is all this electrical equipment, and then there's the beauty of her face. And so you've got the Tina theme, and you've got kind of an overarching theme of humanity and technology.
Totally dilapidated. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is where Tina must have come in and
as I was going through what I was going through, that inspired me. So I wanted to do something creative. And all the women that I shot here, I made strong women. But look at what happened. 10 years later, she became iconic. And then with, what was the group? We Are the World. So she raised $140 million through her creativity with a group of people. That's why I love this story so much. That's more.
So how the eyes got started on this deal was I got a call from Angela who wanted to shoot eyeballs over in our Loft Hotel lobby.
I would shoot them, and I rented the macro lens at that time. And at the end of the day, when I was done, I turned the camera around and I was like, see this? And he goes, that's it. That's it. And I was like, what?
She had these images of these cheerleaders' eyeballs, and they were so detailed that across the street from our Loft Hotel is all the cattle sculptures that Trammell Crow donated to the city in Pioneer Park. And you could actually see those sculptures in the pupils of the eyeball. They were reflected. That's how detailed her photography was. And so I had been wondering about what to do on the 12th floor, because the 12th floor of Lorenzo Hotel has, it's mostly glass, but the back side of the kitchen, the back side of the restrooms is stucco. And I didn't want to just leave it stucco. Seemed to yearn for transparency or something. So I thought, man, those eyeball images would be cool up there. So now we've got eyeballs here on Rebecca's brain that kind of welcomes you to the front door of the hotel. We've got the eyeballs up on the 12th floor. We've got eyeballs in the Ingo Mauer chandelier that's on the vestibule out to the pool.
You just reminded me. You know what? When I was trying to think about what I was going to do on that space, that was for me as a photographer. Wow, this is like a big billboard. And I knew that there was traffic there and all of downtown Dallas is looking. So I was like, what is going to capture their attention? Well, the intensity of those eyes, and I knew you were going to light them up, that's what I thought would capture, like people to look. So it was that, and I knew you wanted to paint all that. So that's really it. It was the intensity of her eyes.
So this is kind of an interesting shot because you see these columns? We thought we were going to have to mess around with those things, and then when we broke into them, we found that those were just, they were not actual structure, that we could take them down. The whole thing was cantilevered out from these columns. We also made it kind of effeminate. We had so many masculine elements in the building, and I wanted to get some curves so that instead of the rectilinear nature of that porte-cochere, we added this kind of amoeba-shaped metal thing that goes around it. You see, oftentimes a hotel will conceal its trash compactor, conceal its electrical transformers behind some kind of enclosure. And sometimes it's successful, but the enclosure isn't anything beautiful to look at. So what I decided, and this, I kind of thought about Centre Pompidou in Paris, which was one of Renzo Piano's buildings, where they emphasized, they had all this utility equipment and stuff coming into the building, and rather than conceal it, they flaunted it. And that's kind of what we've tried to do with this building, is flaunt things, And I've always been kind of mesmerized. You see models in these runway shows sometimes, and you think about them, and they aren't all that attractive but if they flaunt it, they are attractive. And so what we did was, rather than conceal that equipment, we had an artist go out and use those things as a canvas.
What would you create here? And whatever colors you pick, we're going to paint from behind. Cami Branson became the main eye. Oh yeah, so the 90-foot wall. So why did you want to do that?
I just thought the image of that family, we call it the Royal Sullivans, is the title of it, and it was mighty cool. And why not utilize that you'd done for a whole different context and do it as a mural on that wall?
And again, as a photographer or artist, what are you going to do? But instead he chose an editorial shot I did for a family. He had me turn it black and white and colorize it. And then we decided to make Larry life-size, so I had to go do a second shoot where I draped the curtain and pull it back and make it life-size.
We had these trees that were cut down on Browder Street by the city. And I had Stan salvage those trees, and we pulled them over here and let them kind of dry out and become seasoned, and then stripped the bark and everything off of them. And I had seen this thing in Chicago along Lakeshore Drive. I ran into this enchanted forest, and the enchanted forest was these painted trees that were in the middle of actual copse of trees, but there were these painted trees that some artists had done. And I thought, oh, that's cool. So Stan painted those things blue, and we have our little enchanted forest right outside the cigar bar. Interesting thing about the 12th floor, that it was actually, there's a 4-foot plenum. It was a bi-level 12th floor, so you had steps down, and again you had this awkward handicapped access on the 12th floor, and we brought the whole thing up to the same level so that you didn't have that split levels situation. Tom Coughlin, and his job was to be all by himself in the hotel on the 11th floor, but to be there most of the time, which he was. And he was like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, where he was, and he was a strange person in many ways, but in other ways, he was a contributing writer for the Dallas Morning News, and had some remembrance. So I had a cast made of his hand. So as you get off each guest room floor, you get off in the elevator lobby, and we have a cast made of his hand holding the sign that says 1101 to 1111, arrow this way, 1112 to 1124, arrow the other way, and that's Tom Coughlin's hand. So the Blue Men, one of my aspirations, I love M.C. Escher drawings, and he does these drawings of figures going up staircases, sideways down staircases, and you've seen his drawings, and they're fascinating. We were thinking that the frame that was left when we tore down the annex and left the steel frame that is over the pool, that we could do something there. So we got these mannequins and covered them with the stuff that bedliner from trucks is what's on those things, and so we have those kind of walking around there, and that's how that came. It was inspired by M.C. Escher. The containers. In 2007, I was taking a trip to London, and at the time, my friend Stan Abbott said, go to Canary Wharf. There's this village that has all these containers stacked up, and they had them like 7 or 8 high, and there were offices and studios and everything. So I went and visited that, and I thought, man, that's cool. And so we were trying to activate the corner of Griffin and Ackerd Street. One of the unfortunate things is that in the 70s was buildings got built without engaging the street. And so we wanted to have some activity going out there, but it's on top of our parking garage. So we had a structural problem. We didn't want to tear down the corner of the parking garage. That would have been very expensive, but we figured out we could just beef up the parking garage with some more steel and stack those containers on there. So that's how we did the container village that's on the corner at Griffin and Ackerd. Also in 2007, I did a bike trip from Amsterdam to Brussels. And in Brussels, Belgium, I saw this huge art exhibit, where these guys had built this kind of organic structure out of 2x4s that was this huge thing, and it was a temporary deal. And I thought, man, that thing is cool. So then we were deciding what to do with the lobby, and we decided we could kind of do something similar to that. And I had taken photos of it. And so we started it outside on the column that is outside the vestibule, under the canopy where you come in, and it's painted magenta. And so then this organic thing makes its way up, and then it stops. And you go through the vestibule, and the vestibule is chartreuse, and you get this cleansing experience. Then you enter the lobby, and it continues, and then goes down and wraps around the column where the front desk is. And so it's this sort of organic thing. And we put that in the plans and asked our general contractor to build it, and just showed them conceptually what it was. They couldn't get a subcontractor to bid on it, so we had to have Stan actually get there with carpenters and show them what got them started. So we trained these carpenters, and they became the artists. So we had our grand opening party in June of 2017 to kind of celebrate the finished hotel, even though it has continued to evolve thereafter. It was a great point, and we had one heck of a blowout party, and it was really fun to see it. And we had a girl, a body painted girl, who was painted as one of these old time elevator operators in one of the elevators, and you had the eye girl painted.
Yeah,
with.
I had a makeup artist, a body paint artist, design. So we met and designed a body and painted her.
We had a mermaid in the pool. We had entertainers walking around. I think we had a stilt walker. We had a butt sketch artist up on the 12th floor, and all these tastings, and you could create art with food. Anyway, it was a great time.
It was so great.
My name is Michael Ledoux. I've been a professional artist in Dallas for about 30 years. I started my art career as a musician. My mother is a graphics designer, so her background became my background in art. When the Lorenzo project started stirring, we did 382 original, unique pieces of artwork for the headboards. Another 400 smaller pieces for the rooms, and then another piece of artwork that's down in the elevator lobby. Nothing comes out of a paint can, and nothing comes out of a bottle or a cup. It's like everything I do on my own. And it gets it's very wet, and so there's a lot of drying and a lot of drying time. So our heat situation and the dry air situation was just super paramount at the very end of the project. 17 headboards a day were being produced out of the studio towards the very end. The truck was literally waiting outside for us to finish, to see everything come into the hotel at one time, and all these guys coming and grabbing each headboard, and then they would just disappear into the building somewhere. I can't even tell you how many friends and acquaintances have called me and congratulated me. We stayed at the Lorenzo last night, and we got to sleep under your headboard. And this hotel is different in that the entire hotel is a theme. It's just all about art, from the ceilings to the floors to even the electrical rooms in some way have some kind of art involved in them. It was maddening, but it was amazing at the same time.
Angela Garrison. I'm from Cleburne, Texas. My dad gave me a camera when I was in college, and my daughter was small, and I picked it up and I went outside and I started taking pictures with it, and I came back in and he said, "How did you do that?" And I didn't know how. I just kept turning knobs and learning, and I just didn't stop from then. And ever since then, I've had a camera in my hand. The selection of images that we used here at Lorenzo all have a perspective where you are pulled into another place. As you can see, the image behind me, it gets smaller as you go back, and that shows a pattern of energy, a pattern of a vision of going into another place, and that creates a different illusion for every room, which is something that makes the Lorenzo unique. This picture behind me was a picture I took during my sister's graduation for her PhD, and now I've published it here at the Lorenzo Hotel, and my grandmother is the only other one that has a print of this. So it's very special to me, and I'm glad it's here at Lorenzo.
Hi, I'm artist Tony Martin, and I'm an artist in the Dallas area, and I have a studio in the Cedars. My work that's currently hosted at the Lorenzo Hotel was created for a show I did called Beyond the Paint, and it was dedicated towards benefiting Genesis's Women's Shelter, which is a charity here in Dallas. The paintings are portraits of women that I interviewed who have come from all different types of backgrounds and have faced different hardships, and wanted to create a painting that captured the essence of who they were, like where they came from, what they had been through, and the beautiful person that they are today and the strength that they hold. I love to invoke a lot of emotion, especially when I capture people. To me, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so I always try to capture eyes the way that I see them and what I see in that person. So I try to exude that person as much as possible, pretty much every time I create a portrait. So how I got my studio in the Cedars is actually a really cool story. I had a patron that I met, or who found me about 2 years ago, and he really liked my work. I ended up speaking with him, and he presented the idea that, he had a couple people that had some spaces available. And so when I finally went to go check it out, I loved it, and there was no turning back.
My name is Pedro Solano, aka Dro's Soul. I am a full-time artist and have been painting for about 18 years. So the trash compactor that I painted was actually a great piece to work on, because instead of traditionally just covering it off, tapering it off with a screen, we decided to make it apparent, to make it visible, to make it a piece of art in itself, to incorporate it with the transformers and the other utilities in the background that were basically repurposed to become basically an exterior decoration in itself. It's really great to be one of the local artists here in Dallas, specifically in downtown. You know, I feel like being one of those emerging artists or just local artists is a great thing for myself, especially being part of the Lorenzo. I feel like being part of the Lorenzo project has propelled me to other opportunities. It's always good to have some work done at a place that's very reputable, especially with the Lorenzo as being such a known place to go. It's kind of like the place to stay. And being part of this, even though it was a couple of projects, to me it was such a satisfying thing to do.
You know, my work thematically has been a lot about life and relationships. As a child, I was very dyslexic. Actually wrote backwards. So that ultimately put me in classes that weren't in line with going to college. I think most of us get into the arts not because we want to become rich and famous, but because that's the segment of population that embraced us. Back in 2011, I was contacted by the design team that was placing work into the Omni here in Dallas, and they asked me if I could bend wood, and I said I could, and that was based on doing a little bit of wood bending with real little pieces of wood back when I was in graduate school when you steamed it. I went ahead and convinced them I could bend wood, and then I instantly went to YouTube and searched bent wood and found a new technology where wood is no longer being steamed, it's being compressed. And I had to design something that would work with what had already been approved for that. So the idea was to do a piece that was going to work full round with that column, could be seen from any side, plus integrate into the wood that was going to be in the ceiling. It's just wonderful to see the neighborhood, which used to be a really viable part of Dallas and the community, just right outside of downtown, re-emerging as that. I mean, we're on the southern rim of downtown, and it's slower to develop, and it's just great to see things like the Lorenzo come in and help us move forward with that type of progression.
I think as a child, I always knew I was going to be an artist. I come from a long line of artists and engineers. Engineering on my father's side and artists on my mother's side. And when I first actually built a career for myself, it was actually in the technology industry. And it's one of the things that's influenced all of the art that we're doing now at Studio 217 is this great infusion of technology into almost every piece. Like the video chandelier in the lobby of the hotel is a traditional chandelier, but it features video screens instead of a traditional candelabra. The pool chandelier is quite an engineering feat, if you will. Hanging a 20-foot diameter chandelier over a swimming pool is unique, to say the least. Since I've been in this industry, I've had the opportunity to a myriad of things. Furniture, architecturals, lighting, but never before have I had the opportunity to do everything all in one location. And it was quite the opportunity.
I'm Susie Moritz. I'm an artist here in Dallas, Texas, and it has been my privilege to have a painting chosen to be in the Lorenzo Hotel. I started my art career about 15 years ago. I was in a different profession for about 40 years. I was in the finance and real estate business, and I decided to jump feet first in and become a full-time professional artist. Several years ago, I had a friend who had a bat mitzvah for her daughter, and she wanted me to recreate Dylan's candy bar. I went up there and researched and found these adorable gummy bears and recreated Dylan's candy bar. And I've had them for a couple of years, and I put them in an auction because I thought they were really worthy of folks really other folks being able to see them. And I was very fortunate that Larry Hamilton was there and fell in love with them. My studio has been for almost 10 years in the Cedars. It's over on Beaumont Street, and I share it with 4 other folks, and we have just loved the Cedars so much. We just have wrapped our arms around the neighborhood, and we're so happy to have the Lorenzo Hotel here in our community.
My name is Jim Bowman. This piece that I made here for the Lorenzo Hotel is using the blown glass and welded steel combination. What I was wanting to do was to create a composition, kind of a neutral background, and I wanted to like have one strong element, you know, with all these kind of grays and whites and black colors. Then I had just like one line that kind of meanders through the whole piece with this strong red. I really didn't have a title for it, but a friend of mine came up with that, like, oh, we'll call it vital. You should call it Vital Artery. And I'm like, great, you named it. My studio, where I create this artwork, is maybe a block and a half from the Lorenzo Hotel, and I've been there for about 17 years. But the artistic community has really started to grow here, and I feel like it's a very tight community, and I feel a lot of support. I feel like the Cedars is poised to be like the next real arts district of Dallas, where we have really real working artists, grassroots kind of like artists.
My name is Angela Ann Thompson, and I'm now an editorial fashion photographer. As I started shooting eyes, I would shoot the makeup artist and this person, and I actually Cammie, the main eye that you know for the hotel, I was shooting her. There's a story in each one of their eyes, and actually I captured hers when her mom was getting married in California. So you can see this, if you look up close, you can see the sun setting and her in her eyes, and each one has a story, which I can tell. For the next 2 years, I started shooting eyes, and it was quite extraordinary what I was capturing in the eyes, because they all tell a different story. They all have different lines, shapes, expressions. And so about 2016, we did our final selection, and then it just kept on going from there. The most interesting about this whole experience was working with Larry and Stan. It has been like a big canvas over the last 2-3 years, and working with them, collaborating, throwing ideas around, and anything went. They didn't take themselves so serious. And then all the different artists that got to be part of it, and seeing just a plethora of creativity, and it's still going, and the people that come through here, the people you meet, it's been fun.
Yeah, I've always been the artist. You know, when I go back to my small farming community in Nebraska, my friends will still ask me, hey man, you still making art? I go, yeah, can you believe it? For me, I always try to find some sort of interesting mechanical way to produce. What I like to do is stuff that I have never seen before, you know, or take something that's there and just change it just a little bit. That's what gives me pleasure. I've gotten good enough now on both of the areas, good enough drawing that I draw, like someone said, hey man, you draw like a sculptor. I go, yeah, I do. I mean, I think about this other dimension, which is hard. You know, it's a direct opposite of my background, which is in printmaking. That's all planar, you know, but that third dimension and how you want to express it, that's what's exciting. But helping others helps yourself and gets more things going on. And our hope for the Cedars is and was that, you know, we keep generating this enthusiasm. You know, this Lorenzo has been a long time coming, and we being artists and supporters and in the Cedars, are just overjoyed that it actually came to fruition. The fact that you're able to incorporate, artists from the community is what really makes it special.
My name is Marissa Robles. I'm from Irving, Texas, now out of Addison. I painted the mural at the entryway of the Lorenzo. The quote is from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, and it's talking about how there are moments in our lives where opportunities come and we have to take it or live in possibly regret or just never knowing. So in the process of making the mural, actually each letter is completely hand painted and aligned on a Cartesian grid. I'm very, very excited that the Lorenzo gave me the opportunity to reach out to not only my Dallas community, but just the world community. So many people coming into the hotel, and this is the first time I've gotten to paint at the scale of a building, and that's really cool.
My name is Jade Kai, and I'm from Dallas, and my current studio is in the Cedars, and I have been here most of my life. There's this creative side that certainly begged to come out when I was in my probably 20s. Art just started flowing out of me. And I probably have over 5,000 unique designs since the last, say, 3 or 4 years. When I was younger, I did very realistic drawings. I would look at something and try to make it look exactly like that. And it's like I've gone 180 degrees because now I like high color abstract. And I also do some portraits. When I do a piece of work, like I said, I get a photo and then I start messing with it. So I might end up with 150 before I get one that I really like. And that was kind of what happened with Marilyn Monroe. I probably have 200 maybe different ones. And then finally there's one that pops out that I just really love. And I'm honored that he put it in the hotel because there's greatness here. And the artists are great, the designers are great. From concept to current, it's like nothing else on the planet.
I'm Chris Latanzio, Dallas-based artist, and I've been here since 1999. I've lived in Dallas most of my life, but I've been full-time with a studio in Dallas since 1999. I'm a sculptor, and so I guess the art that really moves me the most is sculpture. I was working with a rock band in the early 90s and got to meet Rainer Judd, and we did a music video down in Marfa, and I met Donald Judd, who at that time I didn't know he was a big artist. I didn't even know you could make a living like that from art, but just hanging around Rainer and seeing her dad's stuff and getting to talk to him, he had a major influence. If you look at my stuff, you can also see that there's Matisse and Van Gogh with their heavy lines. They were a big influence on my work too. The piece that they have here is from the White Series. There was the drumbeat of war going on in the country at the time, and I really wanted to get to something very simple, very recognizable, and also very peaceful. And so I took all the color out of my sculpture and I only did white and just let the shadows be a little bit that colored the piece. That piece was created after a trip up to Taos. I love that this hotel is very open to local artists because there's a lot of great art, especially in this area.
I was really born in an artistic family. So my mom was a portrait artist and a doll maker, and my dad was an architect and interior designer. So I kind of got the fusion of their brains. My grandfather, a master calligrapher, and my uncle on my mom's side, a cartoonist. So the whole family, everywhere I looked, was just doing something creative and awesome, and I wanted in on the party. I'm an instructor at CMC Makeup School, so I teach body paint classes. I teach a 5-day intensive class, animal transformation, blacklight reactive. So I have a lot of different styles that I'm kind of chipping away at evenly. But I guess the satisfaction of seeing larger than life murals is kind of where it's at for me. I kind of like things that I can add to people's actual reality. That's one of the most rewarding things. You have a tight-knit community feel, but at the same time, the neighbors let you be who you really want to be. Dallas is something special, Texas is something special right now, and that's why I'm here. Lorenzo Hotel kind of is a bat signal to creatives. You know, you can drive by at night and there's a sequence of color, just in color therapy alone, the sequences of colors that's going on alongside the building, the color, the eyes, the impact, you know, it's visually, it never takes a day off, you know, and that is kind of what the world and Texas needs. It's a creative anchor to the neighborhood. How I got involved with the project was really through DJOC Designs reaching out to me specifically saying, there's something happening in the neighborhood, you're part of the heartbeat and pulse of the neighborhood, we have to let these worlds collide, it has to happen. It's a work in progress, so that's kind of the fun thing. I come back, I visit, there's new stuff to see in the hallways, there's new installments, you know, so it's like there's a creative evolution happening here at Lorenzo.
I'm Michael McFeeters. I am a muralist from Los Angeles originally, live here in Dallas now. I grew up doing graffiti in LA, and now I do murals all around the world. I painted the Lorenzo pool house mural of Einstein. It was definitely a feat, being that it was a large wrap, but also out of my element when it incorporates some math, some kind of cubism on it. And I brought some symbolic designs throughout that sticks to the Lorenzo theme. We had a built-in fountain, so we had to position Einstein's face to look like he was spitting out. Originally I was thinking he was spitting out ideas, and that was kind of the idea behind it.
My name is Leah Fisher. I'm a Dallas-based artist. I just installed a couple pieces into the Lorenzo Hotel associated with Larry Hamilton, and of course when he called me and asked for me to do a piece and put it in the hotel, I definitely wanted to participate in that. It's such a beautiful facility with amazing art, and it's unlike any other hotel in Dallas, definitely, and across the United States for sure. I saw exactly where I wanted a painting to go. Right in the lobby, right when you walk in, there's a beautiful teal wall that brings the whole room together, and I just thought, you know, that would be the perfect place to have a painting. And so I very boldly asked Larry, and he said, okay, you know, of course you can do it. And so there's one painting that I really felt would just be perfect there, and it's part of my self-portrait series. My self-portraits are part of a series that they don't really look like me, they're more inner self-portraits, and they are more about emotions and thoughts and feelings that I have. So they might be represented, you know, in a very masculine way or a very abstract, surreal way. And the one that I've installed here is definitely a masculine portrayal of me. It's called Side Eye, and it's a very snarky, kind of flippant photo, but it also has a lot of sophistication, and I think you get a lot of that in Dallas. It's very playful, definitely a part of me, definitely a part of people that I know, so it's just a snapshot, a reflection of a part of my personality. I did 2 more paintings for another space. They're more abstract. They are black and whites. They're very reminiscent of the abstract expressionists from the 60s, maybe think Jackson Pollock or Motherwell. Very classic execution, but the difference is that I used diamond dust on it, so it really brings it into a modern, more current place. And my favorite thing about these paintings is that, you know, you have a very masculine energy as far as the splashing and the pouring of the paintings, but then adding the diamond dust brings a very feminine aspect to it, so the juxtaposition is very interesting. So two very different styles that I do, both in the spirit of reflectionism, the school of art that I follow, where you just translate energy onto canvas and tie it in with the law of attraction to kind of express your experience on a canvas.
This is a huge umbrella sculpture that was partially inspired by Claes Oldenburg's giant clothespin in Philadelphia. And this is a giant umbrella. And it goes with the giant bowler hat that is just over on Griffin Street, that's a block away from here. Our idea was to give people a sense of arrival that are coming from downtown into the Cedars. Now, Cedars has become part of downtown. It has its own distinctive character, which is a very art-centric character, and our hotel is art-centric. So we've got this traffic median that we built. Stanley Abbott is the sculptor, and there's a little label on the umbrella, and this is 4-story high umbrella, and there's a label on it that says Neiman Marcus. So that's to pay tribute to Neiman Marcus, which has been one of the anchors of downtown, has stayed in here when many other retailers vacated downtown. Neiman Marcus hung in. And also Stanley Marcus, one of the principals of Neiman Marcus, grew up in the Cedars neighborhood. The handle of the umbrella was made to appear like it's a wooden handle, like a regular traditional English umbrella. It's going to be planted on this foundation, which goes down about 10 feet.